Hello, everyone, and thank you, Chris, for the nice introduction. Thank you, neDwork, for the great effort and the tremendous preparations and everything. And I know you're preparing a great event later on that um, everyone will be surprised with it, I hope, and it will be great, exciting. Thank you so much, Chris. And I'm just welcoming everyone in the attendees. And I see now that there are many are attending the webinar. That's nice. So let's start by sharing the presentation prepared for you today. It's as Chris already said that the topic for today is mimicking natural teeth. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So today I'm gonna talk about how to mimic natural teeth, minimally invasive digital in-office monolithic anterior restorations. I'm gonna start by talking about the designing phase and the capabilities of CAD-CAM and in-office restorations, and Dr. Amr will continue with designing, with the finishing process, artistic finishing, as we just said at the presentation. At the beginning, just a small introduction of myself. I'm a professor at the University at the Ain Shams University in Cairo, Egypt, and the head of fixed prosthodontic department. And I've been working with aesthetics and prosthodontics and cosmetic dentistry now for nearly 25 years or more. And with CAD-CAM dentistry and digital dentistry in the at least for the last 15 years. I even can't remember everything. So I've been doing lots of courses actually regarding the CAD-CAM dentistry, and I have my own practice, the dental address in Cairo, working CAD-CAM dentistry all the time, and especially in-office dentistry. And that's what our topic today, the in-office, how to do this complete in-office restoration, single, multiple restorations. These are just some pictures at the beginning of my courses. I do digital dentistry and microscopic dentistry as well, because lots of times we work under the microscope, and this is just a glimpse of what we can do together later on. Some of the courses actually have been done with other colleagues and in collaboration with the DSD group, Christine Coachman, and others. That's have been a lot of fun before. So we've been working with digital dentistry a lot. So our aim today is to replicate nature. This is our utmost aim, and to replicate such teeth with the minute details, everything about the anatomy, the shape, and of course the color. Everyone knows that we can do that completely with the manual craftsmanship, but today we're talking about digital dentistry. Of course, the aesthetic dentist should be a designer. I always say that. I always say that to my students, to my attendees everywhere, because you have to design your restorations. It's not just about just doing some preparations and impressions and so on. No, you have to be a designer. You have to think first as an architect, and then do your dentistry. Think as a dentist later on. Because it's not just making a simple tooth, we're talking about anterior teeth. The smile design is always the primary step in any restorative treatment plan. So you can do smile designing whichever way you like, with digital or manual means, but at the end, you need to design, not just go ahead and start your work without any design. You can go the analog way like that. This is a very nice wax up made for the anterior teeth with very fine details. You have lots of technicians around the world and here in Egypt that can do this beautiful wax up. And of course, lots of dentists also that are interested in aesthetic dentistry and in the technical part of the aesthetic dentistry. You can see here how much fine details are present in the wax up. And then after that, you can even scan this wax up and continue your work digitally. But at the end, what if you can start everything, or you can do everything from the start in a digital way? This is what we're going to talk about. This is the most important thing nowadays, because digital dentistry is on its way. It's not the future, actually, it's the present, whether in the lab or in the clinic. But today we're going to talk mainly about the in-office workflow, completely digital from start to finish. We have lots of applications for digital dentistry nowadays, but we mainly are going to talk about restorative applications. If we compare between the analog and the digital workflow, we're going to find that the analog workflow takes a lot of work actually now, and lots of steps. Whether you're going to take an impression and send it to the lab or otherwise, at the end, it will take lots of steps to finish everything. And of course, digitally, it will be much easier. This is the workflow digitally, where you can just take an impression, a digital or an optical impression or an optical scan, design, mill, and polish inside the office, or even send the data to a lab and receive the final restoration after finishing. But in the office, as you can see, you can finish everything in around half the steps of the analog workflow. That's why we're talking digital. Chairside restorations are now the present, not the future. Most dentists fear of doing such restorations in the anterior zone in particular. I'm talking about the anterior, of course. Most dentists, most CAD-CAM owners, CAD-CAM machines owners, just use it for posterior teeth, single restorations, or even simpler bridges, but it's not that old. It has lots of capabilities other than the posterior teeth. Most of them fear doing anterior teeth because they need lots of work afterwards. It's not just a simple design of a posterior crown and then go mill and finish fastly and bond it. No, it takes more time, of course, more details in finishing, more details in designing, and that's why it's a bit of a hassle. But it's not a hassle that we can avoid actually, because it's enjoyable, and at the end you can get the results that you need to for your design, for your vision of the treatment. Let's talk some evidence-based dentistry at the beginning. Just a few things. Of course, accuracy is the most important thing about restorations, and lots of dentists actually were fearing of the difference in accuracy, specifically in marginal adaptation between the analog way, or for example pressable ceramics, or compared with CAD-CAM. But if you can see, there are lots of literature all around, and this is just an example of it, that at the end, the conclusion, the way of producing and placing the restorations made with chairside CAD-CAM is better than restorations made by conventional laboratory procedures. This is one of the examples. We have lots of examples actually. And this is another article, actually it's one of my articles actually with Kamal Abed and Shireen Moser, and arguing with the accuracy and reliability of intraoral scanners. And based on this literature, review of literature, it seems that digital impressions offer the same level of accuracy as conventional impressions in fabrications of crowns, implant-supported crowns, and short-span fixed partial. Of course, full arch restorations still need more work for accuracy, but at the end, in simple restorations, in anterior restorations, in singles, it's as accurate, even better. Let's talk about the capabilities. Let's talk about what can we do with the CAD-CAM in restorative work, in our restorative work, in everyday clinical practice. We have lots of materials nowadays, monolithic materials that we can use directly without layering, without addition of any ceramics or porcelain later on. Of course, you can do that. This is a more advanced phase, but at the end, you can just stick with the monolithic materials. You can do beautiful anterior restoration with these monolithic materials, ranging from the low strength feldspathic to high strength zirconia ceramics, actually. And nowadays, the advances in dental ceramics and processing techniques have facilitated the development and application of superior dental ceramics, actually, because all the companies are fabricating materials specifically for CAD-CAM. These are just an example, or mainly the most common materials in the market, from feldspathic and lucite to lithium disilicate and zirconia reinforced lithium silicates, and even zirconia materials. They are all blocks ready to use with the in-office CAD-CAM machine, the CEREC in particular in this occasion. And you can do monolithic restorations with these materials directly, from milling to sometimes crystallization or sintering, and then directly to the patient mouth for bonding. So ranging from a single restoration, inlay or onlay, taking totally of 30 to 45 minutes from A to Z, to a maximum of 2 hours if we're talking that we need to sinter zirconia later on. And of course, increasing strength to zirconia with increasing translucency the other way around. This is, of course, very important to note, because the materials are not all the same. And this is for another time to be discussed, actually, because it needs lots of time. And of course, we have also the category of hybrids, which are now very popular, even for interiors. I do prefer, of course, glass ceramics for interiors. This is a fact, and I cannot go for hybrids easily for interiors, but these new materials are very nice in milling and in application for single restoration. Of course, and also we have lots of materials, actually. So our main concern is replicating nature, from a single tooth replacement or a single crown on a central or lateral incisor up to a complete makeover for the interior teeth. Of course, the most difficult part is to mimic a single central incisor to its contralateral, its adjacent tooth. This is very difficult. This is the nightmare of actually of prosthodontics, to replicate the adjacent central. And lots of colleagues all around the world always work on that. We have lots of systems to replicate the color and the shade, and even the minute details of the shape. One of these systems, of course, will be addressed by Dr. Amd later on today after I finish my presentation. This is an example of the capability of the CAD-CAM systems, in particular CEREC systems with the biogeneric reference option, where we can replicate exactly the shape of the adjacent central, taking the same anatomy, taking the same, whether the primary, secondary anatomy, everything through the software, and giving it a mirror shape on the other side to replicate the whole tooth. Even after milling, if you use a polychromatic material, a polychromatic block, of course, you can even get a better shade than from monochromatic blocks. This is just an example, and this is the actual clinical case. See how nice the right central has been placed and replicated to the left central, regarding shape, regarding anatomy, regarding alignment, regarding contours, everything, and finally, of course, the shade and color of the tooth. A closer view actually, and notice how the line angles are replicated, the translucency of the incisal edges, and of course, all the line angles show the same reflection of light on both teeth. This was made with a multi-Empress CAD block to, which is a polychromatic block, to produce more chromatic cervical zone and more translucent incisor zone, and of course with further characterization after milling. Also, we can do a set of veneer with a set of veneers with the CAD-CAM, of course, all in office. Of course, it takes more time. It's one day, of course, a whole day actually. I call it a day use in the clinic for the patients to make such a case, to finish all the veneers in one visit. It's a bit of a hassle, of course, but it's enjoyable at the end. Cases like these, if the patient doesn't have any time, you want to finish everything, then you can do everything in the clinic with full designing and preparation, and of course scanning afterwards and doing the whole design on the CAD-CAM. In this picture, it's the in-lab software from CEREC, of course, from Sirona, Dentsply Sirona, and this is the final design of the veneers. And after milling, of course, this is the model. You can do it by printing, and it's very easy if you have the options, of course, if they have the equipments, and it will help you finish the restorations after milling, because at the end you'll need for the anterior zone, it's better to have a model to finish and adjust everything before bonding or before inserting it clinically. So this is the final, without any layering, just milling and texturing, just finishing, artistic finishing, as we're saying, and of course the artistic skills of staining and coloring the teeth. Look how beautiful the transitions, the line angles, this translucency, the mingling of the color inside the teeth, mamelons and incisal edges. It's beautiful, actually. Look how translucent it is, and the transmission of light through the veneers, it's beautiful. All this with the monolithic restoration, of course. And this is the restoration in place after finishing and bonding everything. No bleach shades, just natural A1, A2 shade. This is the beauty of it, just making natural teeth. This is the importance. CAD-CAM also give you the possibility of doing a complete digital planning before doing anything. It doesn't need to be on the same visit, patient inside your clinic, but you can do a full digital planning to, for example, a rehabilitation case, an occlusal rehabilitation, or even an aesthetic rehabilitation. Just scan everything, scan the upper and lower arch, the occlusion, and then on the software you can design everything. Just this is an example of a case that needs designing for the whole arch, but we're gonna stick with the anterior, so you can do a digital wax up. Instead of doing a manual wax up with your hand, you can do a digital wax up. Everything inside the software, a smile design or a full rehabilitation wax up, just to make sure you're going the right way. And this wax up will be your guide later on in your preparations, in your designing, in everything, even of course in your final restoration. So after doing the wax up, you can transfer this file into a 3D printer to get your final design on a model, and you can use this model to do some silicon stents and silicon index to make a mock-up intraoral, just to test drive your design first before going forth in your work. This is the beauty about the digital workflow. You can do anything and then transfer it intraorally later on. On the CEREC software, for example, you have a smile designing module. You can do everything with your software. You can design according to the facial parameters. You can take a picture of your patient and then introduce it inside the software. Even you can do a face scan. If you want everything to be 3D, you can do a face scan. It's easy nowadays. You can do it with a mobile application on the iPhone or any other Android phone, and then get the STL file from this phone and superimpose the face with the intraoral scan. Even if you want to do a CBCT, if you have a more sophisticated restoration with implants or whatsoever, you can superimpose everything on your software and then do the whole planning from the start before even starting your clinical work, the intraoral work. You have lots of options on the software, of course. The smile midline alignment, this is very important to align the midline with the face, of course, and of course the horizontal plane, basic idea, the basic that you want from the face. And then using this grid mode on the software, you can easily align the teeth and adjust the dimensions, the length with the smile plane. It's not that difficult, just need some training. So just to give you an example of that, I'm going to show you how to do that on your software. For example, this is a case, and I'm going to show you how to plan it step by step, how to design the teeth. It's an anterior case for 6 veneers. Actually, the canines were missing. We only have the 4 incisors and then 2 premolars instead of the canines. So the aim was to design a 6 anterior veneer to realign the teeth and close the spaces, and of course to adjust the shape of the teeth and the color. So at the beginning, of course, we just marked the finish line on all the margins on the model, and later on we have to align the axis of the model. This is a very important step in CAD-CAM, because if you don't align the model's axis correctly, then you get a wrong smile design. Actually, the smile arc or the smile line will not be in the correct place. And this, in combination with the facial scan that you could make, or even just a photograph of the face, you can adjust the horizontal plane correctly, and with, of course, the interpupillary line. At this step, we're actually doing the alignment of the model on the software just to make sure that the anterior teeth are just aligned horizontally correctly. Okay, and after that, we just go for the next step. This is the model axis, and the software will start calculating the proposal according to the design you're choosing. But the beauty about CAD-CAM softwares now, and this is the example of CEREC, of course, that we can have lots of designs inside the software, not just the basic design that the software do, but actually you can choose whatever you like. If you look over here, just now I'm going to show you how you can choose the design you like. This is the basic design of the software without any interference. It's just made directly by the computer, calculated from the software, and of course it's based on the shape of the teeth around the arch. This is the bigeneric design that it's computed through the data stored inside the software. But even you can choose whatever you like. At the beginning, of course, we have to adjust the parameters to the spacer that we're going to make, the thickness of the veneer, the minimum, the margin thickness, and of course the ramp angle there. It's basic for the veneers. It's not that difficult, but most importantly, we can choose the morphology you like. You have the bigeneric morphology, which is computed, as I said, from the software, and also you have other morphologies stored inside the computer. We can see here that We have lots of shapes, the ovoid shape, for example, the square and the taper. And you will see now, if you choose an ovoid, it will give you a completely different shape for the teeth. Square or tapered also, it's completely different. This is your choice. And of course, it's gonna be according to the shape of the face, the shape of the remaining teeth, of course, or even your personal preference. And also we have a database inside the software where lots of shapes from different companies you can choose. This is an example of the tapered teeth. I like that shape actually. It's more natural, but it's a bit male. It's a bit, how can I say it, strong in appearance. So I don't like it for females actually, but for females, I like to have smooth curves and rounded angles, of course. You can even share with the patient, of course, their preference for the shape. This is an example of your shape you can use, viewing it from different angles, from the labial view, from the palatal, and of course, laterally and even incisively. So this is your first step. You always choose the shape of the teeth. This is your option. You have it on the software. It's a very nice option. The morphology can be adjusted whatever you like, and then you go for the final proposal. This is the bigeneric actually that I chose at the end to use the capabilities of the software. The next step is to reposition everything. You have to position the teeth according to the alignment you need, according to, of course, your lip support, according to, of course, your smile arc. Align them before you see the final design. This is very important. So this is the teeth alignment by reshaping, by increasing if you like to increase the width, buckling or mesiodistal, and then even move them labiopalatally or mesiodistal to adjust that line. Just going through it, just to the time won't catch us. Okay. So after that, this is the canine alignment, of course, to adjust the width, the mesiodistal, and even the lateral, and so on until you reach the final alignment you will need. And you can see here, you can even rotate the teeth, not just move them in a section, in all directions, as you can see. Buccolingual, inside gingival, distal, and also rotate them in whichever direction you like. This way will save you more time later on in the final design, or in let's say finishing your design by improving or adjusting more the final proposal from the software. Okay. So after positioning and after being satisfied with the position, you can go for the next step, which is adjusting the design itself. Before going to the proposal, of course, where we just make sure that your positioning was correct according to the grid lines, according to the alignment. And so in this way, we use the grid mode, the grid tool actually, and to make sure that the length of the teeth, the alignment are correct, to make sure the differences of the laterals from the centers are the same in both directions and both sides. Also, the canines are correctly located and aligned endings that their tip is on the smile arc you desire later on. Okay, and then after that you go for the designing step or the proposal and the fine-tuning of everything later on. This way, the software will calculate the proposal and give you, according to your positioning and according to your choice of the morphology of the teeth, your design. So this is one step. After that, you go for editing of the design. This picture shows you the design that the computer has proposed to you. Of course, it's not that perfect. And that's why dentists do not like very much to work with anterior teeth in directly in office restorations, because it will need more work to adjust them and make them more beautiful. Of course, you cannot take them this way and then directly mill them. You have to work with them. You have to work with every tooth, but in a systematic way. You can start with the centrals, you can start with the laterals, different schools, but at the beginning, of course, you have to adjust once more the length of the teeth according to your original design, according to your lip support, your lip position, according, of course, to the alignment, the lips, the labiolingual inclination. Everything you already set from the beginning, you have to adjust here the final length of the teeth, increase the incisal edge, adjust the alignment for both teeth, and you can work in every teeth and every tooth in a single way, or you can, of course, link them together. You can work with both centrals, both laterals, both canines, or even for the whole 6 anteriors, you can work at the same time. So in this way, you can increase the length. You can see here I'm adjusting the length of the teeth. And then according to the grade, I'm adjusting everything so that it will conform to the smile design that we're designing. Here, another option, very important, is the biogenetic variation. So we chose from the start the biogenetic mode in designing in the morphology of the teeth. We did not go for a specific shape from the software. So we're going through the biogenetic variation, which is a variation of the proposed software itself. You can use several variations. You can test them first for each tooth or for the whole teeth at a single time. But we're going to work on the 2 centrals together now. I'm going to show you until they're finished. And then, of course, the other teeth were made later on. This is one biogenetic variation. You can see here the anatomy is more exaggerated than the original design. You can work with it, choose whatever you like, and then adjust them later on. So this is the variation we chose. Actually, this one. This is the variation we chose. And after proposing the restoration, there was a defect on the incisal edge, so we had to adjust it first to make it like the other central, of course. And this is just a small glitch. It happens a lot, but it's easy to adjust through the shape and form tools. You can increase the incisal length easily. You can increase just a part of it or the whole incisal edge. You can see here I'm just increasing the center of the incisal edge with the circular shape tool and adjusting the left central just like the right one. Even increasing the palatal side just to make the start position for the 2 centrals. And then I'm gonna adjust later the the context between them. Okay, this is a start. We have the two centers nearly alike now. From the software point of view, the proposed design, and then we're gonna close the space, of course, and adjust the size of the teeth together. Confirming or making confirmation on the grade mode also. You have to always look to the model in every direction. The incisal view is very important to adjust the alignment, to adjust the contours of the teeth. You have to see them actually step by step from the gingiva to the incisal edge. It's not just a quick view. It's very important to mimic both sides together, and that's why you have to look at them from the incisal view, from the profile, lateral view, right and left, and of course the labial view, which you'll always use for adjusting the final contours. Okay, this is of course after adjustment of the context between them, increasing the contours proximally to close any black triangle that could be apparent later on. Using the shape tool here, circular. This is the most important tool we use all the time to adjust the shape, adjust the contours, everything. If you don't want to increase or reduce any part of the tools, it's the best tool whatsoever. Okay, I'm gonna go through the video. This is how we adjust them, and the incisal embrasure. And you can see here they're more alike. So, oh, just the video went berserk. I'm gonna return to that part because I want to show you something important here. After the both teeth were adjusted, yeah. So this way, using the design of the computer, the biogenetic design, I adjusted both centrals to be exactly matching, looking from all directions. We have to make sure that they are completely aligned, and using the grade mode, we can adjust their positioning, the size. If we need more adjustment, we can, of course, fine tune everything. And after that, I'm going to show you how to improve the anatomy and adjust not just the main anatomy or the primary details, also the secondary and tertiary anatomy. First step here is adjusting, of course, the contact between the teeth, centrals together. It's an important step, of course. We just remove the excess here. And of course, every time after we do everything, we use the smooth tool to smooth the surface after removing or adding any material. It's like just using a brush or a wax carver or wax tip. It's the same, but digitally, of course. Okay. Notice here how, if you're looking incisally, both teeth have the same contour. And actually, I'm here adjusting the distal of the right central because it was a bit, the width was more than the left one. Okay, the following step is concerns the tertiary anatomy. We use here the incisal variation tool. The incisal variation will completely transform the anterior teeth with tertiary anatomy. You have lots of options here. Actually, around 6 variations you can use on the anterior teeth to produce more tertiary anatomy, more texturing of the surface, more characterization. So this is an example, or you can make them yourself actually with the tools form and shape without using the incisal variation tool. This is an example you can use, of course, with the, if you want know more details and to do it yourself, it will need more time to practice it. And here I'm doing some surface characterization, very small surface characterization to increase the effect of tertiary anatomy, just perikymata and very small grooves and fissures. And later on, of course, we have to smooth everything with the smooth tool, just to make sure that all the lines blend and we have no sharp edges. This is the final shape. You can see them on both centrals. This is one of them, of course, just to watch it closely for all the details and look at the light reflection on the teeth, on the labial surface, showing the different anatomy or different texture on the labial surface. So this is how we finish the incisal variations, the incisal anatomy, and in this step in particular, I'm adding some manual adjustment to modify the incisal edge actually, and modify some anatomy on the labial, and even we can introduce some wear pattern on the incisal edge from the palatal, of course, remove some of the material with the shape tool or with the remove tool. Both we can do that. And it's very nice to see that, and at the end, stain it, it will be very natural later on. Of course, we will smooth it before milling. And this is the final, with a nice incisal edge, with corrugations, and even you can make some very nice fissures. It's very nice at the end. This is how we can see it with the color of the tooth, and look at the reflection of light on the labial surface. It's very natural. And this is how it looks in the block for milling, of course. And this way we can finish every and each restoration and mill it. Of course, we have specific burrs for these fine anatomy, or these fine textures. The EF burrs for the CEREC, for example, it's very important to use them to produce this texture. It's not easy with the conventional burrs, but if we use these burrs, it would be better. And this is an example of how it's produced from milling. You can see here the anatomy of the teeth. It's very well pronounced. The anatomy, the labial anatomy and the texturing, and this is the final tooth after the final restoration, after texturing, staining and glazing. And of course, how we reach that will be left for Dr. Amr. This is an example of the case. Look how thin the veneers are, and with beautiful anatomy, texturing and shape, and of course color. This is the veneers on the model, and later on control. So this is our goal today. How this will be translated into a final restoration with fine textures and fine staining and color reproduction that matches the natural teeth will be handed over to my brother and colleague, Dr. Amr Al-Itrebi. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope it was beneficial for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tarek, for your presentation and for your insight. Coming next is Professor Amr. So we will wait another second. He's probably connecting his video. And please leave your questions at the chat box, and we'll address at the end. Dr. Amr, are you online?
Yeah, but you stopped my sharing for video, so I'm trying to share it. You have to allow me, Chris.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
Welcome, Professor.
Welcome, Professor. Okay. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you for hosting us tonight. I think it's a wonderful evening, and hope everybody's enjoying it till now and till I finish. As you said before, we are preparing something in the future, and I hope everybody will be happy and interested and excited about it as we are.
In the near future.
In the very near future. I'd like to thank Dr. Tariq, of course, and I'm always happy to be with him anywhere on stage, even on virtual stage. It's something honorable. I would like to share my screen and start with the presentation. Okay. So, would like to welcome you all. Hope you are enjoying the event, and hope the topic is interesting for all of you. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Amr El-Trebi. I'm Associate Professor of Fixed Prosthodontics at Ain Shams University. I'm also an Adjunct Associate Professor at Future University, and I'm a Key Opinion Leader for Remford in Germany. Would like to complete what Dr. Tariq was talking about through my protocol that has been published around a couple of years ago. It's called the RRR protocol, and it's about intraoral characterization of monolithic ceramics. Actually, it was designed for prosthodontists and for dentists. Also, it's beneficial for ceramists and dental technologists, but also it was mainly for dentists. As Dr. Tariq was saying, that it's not the future, it's what we are, the real life, and what we are practicing every day now. It's the CAD-CAM. CAD-CAM technology is expanding very, very rapidly, and everybody's using it in his office, or even sending his work to labs that are using CAD-CAM technology. But we would like to highlight something, that CAD-CAM technology is a tool that makes our life easier, faster, but actually it will not do the work that we are supposed to do. It's just, it's like an autopilot. So the pilot stays at the plane. The takeoff and the landing has to be done by him, and he has to monitor the autopilot throughout the journey. So you cannot use the CAD-CAM button sorry, the software button, next, and the CAD-CAM will do your job. You have to choose, you have to modify, and actually at some point, a part of the job you have to do it by yourself. And since you are using the CAD-CAM machine at your office, there is no lab that you're going to communicate with. So you are now the dentist in the lab, or as I would like to say and call a prosthodontist ceramist or a dentist ceramist. So you have to do all the job from A to Z by yourself. The most difficult case is the single central case. And not all the time the patient would like to do the whole 6 anterior or even the 2 central incisors for economical reasons, sometimes for he's already satisfied with his teeth. For example, this case, it was a trauma, a patient having trauma with the upper central. He had endo-treated the tooth and it's discolored, and he wants to cover or to replace it. In his own words, he wants to replace it. He wants a crown over this tooth, and of course it's a challenge because we have diastema, we have an abnormal form of the central and abnormal color shapes that are represented on the labial surface of the central. So the CAD-CAM system here will not be able to fully reproduce the restoration in a natural way and to mimic what we can see on the labial surface. We can use the mirror option in the software to make a mirror of this central in a proper, having a proper form and texture maybe. But at the end, the final result comes also from color and shades, which is not produced by the CAD-CAM systems, whatever the CAD-CAM system is. Another situation is that we have a properly aligned, of a very good shade and color teeth, anterior teeth. Patient is already satisfied with her teeth, and we have only a single central with a composite veneer that regularly discolors and is replaced every 2 to 3 years. Some would say, okay, I will do a composite veneer that will stay for 5 years, but at the end of the day, at some point it will be replaced again because of the discoloration, maybe chipping, and we're still with the same challenge that we are mimicking a single central incisor that has to disappear, as we say, or it has to be one of the natural teeth that that you cannot distinguish in between the other teeth of the patient. So back to our protocol, we call it the triple R protocol, and the triple R comes from 3 R's. The first is to recognize, the second is to record, and the third is to replicate. So these are the 3 steps that we are going to memorize and use it as a workflow to produce or to mimic the natural teeth. I would like to highlight that this protocol, it applies on composites, it applies on zirconia restorations, lithium disilicate restorations, whether you are using a staining technique, a micro-layering technique, a cutback technique, a full layering technique, it doesn't matter. It's a protocol for mimicking teeth, natural teeth. It's not for producing the restoration. This is one. The second thing is in the replication. If you are going to use it as a chair side, it has to be with a monolithic restoration, either zirconia restoration or a lithium disilicate restoration. You cannot apply it for chair side when you are using either of these restorations, but with micro layering or layering technique. So let's begin with the first step. It's to recognize. What are we going to recognize? As a dentist, we have the habit, or we are trained to look at a periapical X-ray, and automatically we can see the periapical area, the lamina dura, periodontal membrane space, the endo treatment if it exists, everything, and we can just make a checklist which is properly there and which is improperly made or existing. Okay, so I would like you to train your eye for a similar checklist, but for color. We have 6 color shapes. The color shapes are a resultant of the interaction between light and the surface texture and the shade of the tooth, the basic shade of the tooth. And at the end of, and as a result, we can see these color shapes. Okay, so it actually some of them are just an illusion, but we have to check if they do exist or not in the teeth we are trying to mimic or to replicate. The first color shape is the incisal halo. Okay, the incisal halo, it is a part of the incisal edge where there is an opacity. It's at the final edge of the incisal edge. It extends from the mesial to the distal side. Okay, it is actually it is an optical illusion. It results from the oblique orientation of the enamel rods at the incisal edge. So actually it is a result, it doesn't exist, it's just an opacity resulting from incomplete translucency of the incisal edge at this point. Okay, it may appear with different colors, maybe that of the dentine, the basic shade of the tooth. It may be due to, have a white color or maybe a vanilla color. At the end, we have to see if it does exist or not, and if it exists, we have to know if what color is it, and the extension and the thickness of it. The second color shape is the translucent zone. The translucent zone, it is beneath the incisal harrow if it exists. It's just extending from the mesial to the distal of the labial surface. This is where the enamel rods are placed in a horizontal or a parallel, sorry, it's in a parallel direction with the light, with the light placed on the labial surface. Okay, so the passing light through the incisal edge, it passes through the whole enamel rod where it doesn't reflect from this area, and at the end the reflection, the passage would result in a grayish or a bluish color. So we have to say if it is, or to mention if it is blue or gray in color. The mamelons, this is the beginning of the projection or the beginning of the appearance of the dentin inside the incisal edge. It is like a 3 or less finger projections. It may have the same shade as that of the dentin, or it may have other colors. Mainly the other colors of the mamelons are either vanilla or salmon, maybe tipped with white or not. But at the end, some teeth show mamelons and some teeth don't show mamelons. So we have to see if it exists or not and mention the color of it. The translucent, the interproximal enamel is the same as the translucent zone. It extends in the proximal area, and it's just the same colors and shades as that of the translucent zone. So it's either gray or it is either blue. And if it exists, mainly it's composed of enamel. So we have to mention if it exists or not. At the end, the tooth body, which we all know, and we all take the basic shade of this part of the tooth during our shade selection step. This is what we are used and trained for, to take only the basic shade. This is the area where we are, which is the middle of the tooth. This is where we say if it is an A2 or an A3 shade. The tooth neck, which is an area, it's not that made of the cementum, it's just below the height of contour of the tooth, and it's mainly composed of dentine with a very thin layer of enamel. It may be of a shade of an orange, khaki, sunset, yellow. It has different shades, but at the end, does it exist or not, it has to be mentioned, and the color of this color shade as well. So if we have these 6 color shades existing or not with extensions, their extensions and their shades or their colors has to be mentioned, and this has to be recorded in 2 ways. First is the selection of the basic shade. Okay, this is what we are used to do with the shade guide, the commercial shade guides, but we have to ask ourselves 2 questions without holding or starting to use the shade guide process or procedure. The first question is the patient dentition white, yellow, or orange? Okay, this categorizes the main color in the tooth, in the body of the tooth, and actually it guides us to take which group of the teeth of the shade guide tabs to start the shade selection with. The second question is, are the patient's teeth light, dark, or somewhere in between? And this gives an indication about the value of the tooth we are going to take a shade of. Then we select the basic shade guide in the common way we are used to do. And this is the step where we just take the basic shade of the tooth. Okay, but we have to remember that the basic shade we are selecting is actually the background of the color shapes. It resembles 5 to 10% only of the final outcome, and together with the surface texture and the outline form, it gives the normal appearance. So if you have a proper base proper selection of the color shapes and the basic shape, and you don't have a proper form or surface texture, the outcome will be artificial and vice versa. This is what we are going to highlight today and speak a little bit about is the color mapping. Color mapping actually is the main or the most important part of our work to mimic the natural teeth. This is what we call a color map. It includes the outline form of the tooth, okay, and the existence or not of the 6 color shapes we know, and their extensions and their color, okay? So the first step is to draw the actual outline of the tooth. You cannot draw just an upper central from your memory and then you start to place the color shapes on them, because their thickness and extension has to be from one point to another. And if you are drawing the outline of the tooth not correctly, actually all the color shapes will be drawn on the color map in an incorrect way. So you draw the actual outline form, even if there is a fracture in the incisal edge, there is some wavy incisal edge, some invaginations, whatever in the proximal line angles, it has to be drawn, and then you start placing the color shapes on them. Okay, so it's just something, it's a draft that you place for yourself, and then you start to place the color shapes existing or not, writing their color. So this is what we have as a color map for the tooth. Okay, and this is it's just a draft, but afterwards we will talk just more in depth about this step. Replication. If you are using a CAD-CAM system and you wanted to deliver a chair-side restoration, then we are using this system to produce a monolithic restoration. A monolithic restoration, whether lithium disilicate or zirconia restoration, comes out in monochromatic results. So starting from the cervical till the incisal, it has only one color, which is the basic shape you selected, an A2, an A3, an A1, a B2, blah, blah, blah. This is just what we can say. It is just the background of all the color shapes we are going to draw to produce a natural looking restoration. So what we are going to use is something in the market for several years now. It's what we call a 3D luster paste, a 3-dimension, not 2-dimension. It differs from that of the stains, regular stains we know. The regular stains is 2-dimension, meaning that it doesn't allow the light to pass through them. So the 3rd dimension, which is the depth, doesn't exist. Okay, the 3D luster pastes are low fusing porcelain powders that are shaded, and actually when you place them on the restoration, you can see the final result even before sintering or firing in the porcelain furnace. On the contrary, the stains that you use regularly on restorations, they don't produce their final color except after oxidation, because they are actually pigments and metal oxides. So they have to go into the porcelain furnace first to be fired, and then you can see the final outcome of them. Okay, so this is one of the benefits of this material, that you can see the final outcome just before introducing it into the furnace. Regarding myself, I use different systems. Of course, for Emacs, I used Ivo Color. It started with a system called an Emacs Ceram Shades. Then they used some powders from the system called Essence, plus the Emacs Ceram Shades to produce the final kit, which is known as Ivo Color. Okay, this is I use for Emacs lithium disilicate restorations. Another system that I use actually more now is the GC Initial IQ. new formula. Okay, it's both are they are all the same material or the same components, but of course they are from different companies. So maybe one kit would have more color varieties than the other, but at the end you can mix colors to produce whatever colors you want. The third system that I use is the CZR from Noritaki Kurari. This kit is beautiful and very easy to use on zirconia restorations. But at the end, for myself, I prefer lithium disilicate restorations. It's more naturally looking and it mimics nature more than actually use illustrations. I would recommend such a system. I already use and I've got very good results with it. Back to our cases. This is what we are going to use our system, our protocol as a triple R protocol for intraoral characterization of monolithic restorations. What do I mean by this sentence is that after designing the restoration and after milling, you would make a try-in in the patient's mouth, and then we are going to mimic the natural teeth, the neighboring natural teeth of the patient while the restoration is inside his mouth. Okay, so it's the same steps we do in the lab or on the cast outside the patient's mouth, but inside, but this time inside the oral cavity. And I think instead of having a picture or a color map that we drew from the patient, and then on the bench we try to mimic what we have recorded, making this step intraorally will give us two advantages. The first is that we are seeing at the moment the final result instantaneously, and the second is that we are seeing and looking at the natural teeth visually directly without having the effect of an overexposed or an underexposed picture. So let's start with this case. First, we have upper left central incisor that has a composite veneer, this color composite veneer, and the other teeth are already properly formed, have a very good shape. Okay, and the patient wasn't satisfied with this central incisor and what the look of this central incisor, and she addressed me to try to make a better restoration for this tooth. So we will take the protocol to the second step, which is the recognition of the color shapes, and with a simple trick. Either if you took the picture with the camera, you can increase the contrast of the picture, and then you can see the color shapes of the natural teeth. Or after taking the basic shade, you can leave the patient with his mouth open for 2 to 3 minutes. The teeth starts to dry, and the value decreases, and actually the color shapes will start to appear in, and you can see them. But this trick has a drawback, which is the teeth doesn't regain their value quickly, and to make the natural teeth actual gloss and final luster. So this will hinder and delay the last step in the restoration production. But anyway, it's a tip that can help if you don't have a camera beside you while doing this step. Okay, let's see if the teeth have an incisal hollow. As we see, yeah, it has an incisal hollow. It extends from one side to another, and there is an incisal edge. Before we go to the third step, which is the mamelon, actually we see the mamelons here as the same shade as the basic shade. Okay, I hope you can see the arrow. My arrow, the basic shade is not this white stria, okay, and it's not that stains or discoloration at the neck of the teeth. The basic shade, actually, it is the areas of color that are in between these white stria, horizontal white stria. Okay, so we cannot determine actually that there is mamelon appearance or not. So the mamelon here are we are going to mention, or we're going to write that this the mamelons have the same shade of the same color as that of the body of the tooth. Okay, so actually these are the extensions of the mamelons. In this case, there is a very thin interproximal area. The body of the tooth, we can see the shade here in the main part of it without the white stria, and there is a neck which is very obvious in this case. Okay, so if we can take all what we have done on an external paper, this is the outline or the draft of our color map with the color shapes drawn on it, and these are the colors that we can see on the tooth that we are trying to mimic it. And then we go with the regular steps that already all of us are trained on, that we start with the depth cuts, we do the preparation. Okay, after we finish it, we take the impression and we take the basic shade. Here is B1. Okay, and just a simple tip that we compare only the middle 1/3 of the tab with the middle 1/3 of the tooth. We don't, while taking the shade, the basic shade, I'm not interested in all that of the tab. I'm only interested in the middle 1/3 of the tooth. And when we say middle 1/3, it's the tooth it extends from the incisal edge up to the maximum contour. This is the neck area of the tab, and this is the neck area of the tooth. So from here to here, the middle 1/3 will be this area. Okay, I see that it is a B1 shade, and then we place our temporary restoration. And we dismiss the patient. Okay, at this stage, what we are used to do is this common procedure. Okay, doing it after with an impression, regular impression, or with a CAD-CAM system. You have to, as Dr. Tariq mentioned, you have to make sure that we have the proper outline form and texture. Texture will give you a rough surface or a smooth surface. If you have a rough surface, we have different light reflections and refractions. And if there is a color on these parts of the tooth with different surface texture, the interaction of the light with this part would differ if it is smooth from rough. And actually, the final outcome of the color would actually differ if you didn't, as Dr. said, scanning won't be enough, or using the mirror option of the CAD-CAM system won't be enough to produce a naturally looking restoration. You have to modify and just make some touches to the labial surface to make sure that you have the same surface texture. Okay. The restoration, you can see we have the same outline form, same surface texture. This is the side view, and this is an enlarged side view. You can see here the surface texture. It's very, very important and crucial to produce a natural looking appearance. Okay, we do a try-in inside the oral cavity. Till this point, everything you can do, everything is common, and then you can take this restoration outside of the oral cavity. You can use your color map or the acquired pictures to try to mimic the color shapes. But if you have the chairside system, CEREC system, and of course you have a porcelain furnace beside you, I see there is no reason that you dismiss the patient and then starts to color the restoration and then give another appointment. You can isolate the oral cavity, and then you can start mimicking the natural color shapes and the adjacent teeth. Okay, I'll just go quickly through the steps. Our next event will include more depth regarding shade selection with tips and tricks to produce the basic shape, and also many steps and tips and tricks more in depth regarding the triple R protocol and how to mimic using plaster pastes and stains. After isolating, we will place just the refreshing liquid or the staining liquid that comes with the kit on the restoration, and then we start to draw our 6 color shapes if it exists in their colors. So in this case, we had an incisal halo, white incisal halo actually, okay, and we had an bluish effect or the opalescent effect in the translucent zones and the interproximal area. And also the translucent zone included some grayish effect. Mamelons had some orange color and orange tint in the middle 1/3 of the tooth, and the cervical area just had some copper stains and khaki stains that were replicated also. As you can see in this picture, the restoration is only painted with the 3D luster pastes. Okay, at this point, if you just place your finger on the restoration, you can remove everything, and if you need to correct something or you're not satisfied with the final outcome, you can start from the beginning. And this is the advantage of the intraoral characterization, is that you see the final results intraorally. You can compare it with the adjacent teeth, and if you're not satisfied, you can change everything and starts just from the beginning. It doesn't take 10 minutes more than that, or you have all the time to produce a very good restoration. Okay, this is after it comes out from the furnace, and this is just before rotation. Okay, maybe I have placed some khaki and copper stains a little bit more than I used to have to do, but the smile line will not reveal this area, so patient was satisfied. And this is after 2 weeks. You can see the veneer, it's nearly 95 to 97% mimicking the adjacent natural teeth, the same luster, everything. I don't know what you think, but for me, I was satisfied and the patient was satisfied. So hope you are all seeing that it's a good mimicking and replicate of the adjacent one. For the next step, this is another challenge where we have a fractured right upper central incisor tooth. With some caries, we made the preparation. This is the try-in, and this is the final result. Okay, this is the case where which we were speaking about at the beginning of this presentation. And after making the preparation post-encore, actually here we have another challenge, that is discoloration of the stump. So this is where we use the different type of ingot of the lithium disilicate material, just to make sure that everything will not show through, this discoloration will not show through the crown. And then we go with the same steps and procedure, color mapping and intraoral staining and shading. Okay, and this is the final result. Actually, this one was a challenge, and sadly, we didn't have the steps from the beginning till the end. But this is the final results for a cantilever bridge on the canine to replace the lateral incisor. Okay. Just to make sure that you can remember what we were talking about. It is the triple R, 3 R's. You have to recognize the color shapes. You have to record them, record the basic shade and the 6 color shapes using a color map, and then you can replicate them intraorally using the 3D luster pastes. Again, this protocol was published 2 years ago. This article will be very helpful. You will find most of the main concept of the protocol and how to do some color shapes, example cracks or hypoplasia, pericymata, and other. all this will be are included in this article. I hope you were interested and I got your attention with this protocol, and hope to see you in the coming event where we will be talking in more depth and more giving more tips and tricks. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to thank Dr. Tarek and of course neDwork for having us today. I hope you had an exciting and interesting evening. And see you in the next event.